Hello and welcome to this last edition of the Legend of Korra Book 3 review series. It's pretty late, I apologise for that. It's because I disappeared up into the Highlands for a week and there was no internet connection, so I wasn't uploading anything. And also, I kind of wanted to add some little special editing bits and bobs into this video instead of it just being me talking in front of a camera for half an hour. So the episodes that we're going to be talking about are Into the Void and Venom of the Red Lotus. After that, I will be giving an overview of my opinions of the entire season. So Into the Void, most of this episode takes place either on Lahima Peak or the Northern Air Temple. So you have Bolin and Mako trying to, get the airbenders back from the Red Lotus, and Korra handing herself over as part of that deal. So, yeah, Korra has basically decided to go along with Zaheer's demands, hand herself over. I can't speak English today for some reason. Hand herself over, and the Red Lotus will free the airbenders, and Mako and Bolin will take them off. Turns out it's a massive trick. What's her name? The water arm lady. I've blanked on it. Minghua. Minghua had been using her water bending to fill the clothes of the airbender cloaks to trick Mako and Bolin into thinking that there were loads of airbenders in that room when actually it was only Tenzin. They tell Korra, and Korra just starts attacking Zaheer, and what follows is a lot of action, a lot of fighting. These two episodes were very, very heavy in the action sequence department, which is totally fine because, like, this is a finale, you expect that kind of thing. Characters, and plus this season's had a lot of characterization, there's been a lot more time for proper characterization this season than there has been in season 2, for example, I think personally. So yes, there's a lot of fighting in both these episodes, but a lot of interesting action scenarios. This one in particular between Korra and Zaheer and her father is interesting because, you know, normally you think the Avatar's going to beat anyone she's in a fight with, and Zaheer is a talented airbender, but he's not a master yet, and he may be unlocking, you know, powers of airbending that have never existed, but you get the sense there's a reason why they never existed, and also, you know, like, he's got the fundamentals, but, like, and he's very powerful. He's got a lot of raw power, but he's not as disciplined a fighter as, like, Tenzin. As was demonstrated in the ultimatum, like, Tenzin was pretty much, you know, had Zaheer pretty much against the ropes for most of that fight until Zaheer's friends turned up. So yeah, you're not expecting a straight up duel between Zaheer to end any way other than Korra wins. And they came up with a clever way of having Korra fight Zaheer, but it seemed equally matched. So in this fight, she's she's got handcuffs on and her feet are tied together and so forth and so on. So she's very limited in what she can do. And because bending is very physical, you can't just go, make the rock move. You have to move your arms about, move your legs about, blah, 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 blah. And, yeah, it limits her what she can do and what she can do in that fight. So it feels kind of natural that she's, having a hard time fighting Zaheer. And they do this again with Venom of the Red Lotus, just giving the Avatar, like, a slight disadvantage so it makes the fight more interesting. Because, you know, essentially Korra is the most powerful being in this world, so it's pretty unfair and kind of uninteresting to just have her engage as somebody at her peak. So yeah, but the other fight that's going on right next to this one is the fight between Pali, Sue, and Lin. which ends in a very dark way. I really wasn't expecting this. Pele's head blows up. That sounds really insensitive the way I said it, because it's a dark scene. It's not funny at all. It's really horrible. And what I liked about it, though, is that it made sense for Sue to make that choice because her sister's life was in the balance. Like, it was pretty clear that it was either Sue takes action now or Lynn's going to be blown off the side of a cliff. So I like it didn't feel like cold-blooded murder on Sue's part, but and I'm not entirely sure Sue knew what, like, because the way what she did, cover her head, so like it could, you know, she probably just wanted to make sure she couldn't attack anyone. You know, there are ways of viewing that scene where Sue isn't, you know, just a murderer, if you know what I mean. Like, she could have possibly just been doing that to disable her combustion bending ability, but because, you know, Pele was already charging up, boom. And that scene is like, that scene's really weirdly edited for me, because you see the light coming out the helmet, but then it quickly cuts away to Zaheer, and then you just see this like smoky crater. And it feels like there's a sound effect missing, and it feels like a couple of seconds are missing from the footage that was shown. And I wonder if there was an editing choice there to remove, like, to cut away from the actual explosion itself. Makes total sense. We don't need to see that, but there's like, I don't know. There's I felt like there was like a sound effect missing. You didn't need to see it, but like you needed to hear it happening. Do you know what I mean? Just to have that like confirmation that yes, she's dead now. And it is really heartbreaking because although Pele, and this is kind of one of the few flaws that I have with Book 3, is that apart from Zaheer, most of the Red Lotus aren't really that characterized. Pele is the character we get to know the most in this series, and it's mainly because of the scene that happens before this fight sequence with just her and Zaheer, and she's talking about the warlord that wanted to make her into a weapon, and Zaheer rescued her from that and showed her true freedom. There's clearly a bond there and a really you know, positive relationship between those two, and it's just a shame we didn't get to see more of that. I mean, to be like, we've only got so many episodes in a season of Korra. It's unfortunate we don't have the 22 episodes that we had per season for the original series, and that's kind of one of the strengths the original series has over Korra, is that it had loads and loads of episodes that it could dedicate just to getting to know people instead of just plot. And Book 3's been a lot better about characterization than previous seasons of Korra, and ultimately I think they made the choice that we'll have Zaheer be the villain that everyone gets to know, and we'll spend the rest of the time we have to characterize. We'll spend that on our heroes. And if I was in that position, I'd make the same choice. You know, it's still a compromise, and it's not the best situation, because really I think we should have gotten to know Minghua, Gazon, and Pele a lot better. But I'm still happy with what we've got. So Zaheer sees Pele die, and it doesn't take that long for him to recover from his devastation. He is devastated, we see that on his face, but once Korra starts attacking, he's immediately back into the action. That kind of, for me, kind of is in line with his very pragmatic mind. Like, he's not a sociopath, he's not a psychopath, he feels, and he has empathy, and he feels emotions, but he is a pragmatist, and pragmatists have that ability to turn it off, all that stuff, and just get on with business. And yeah, he disables Korra, but his airship is not available to him anymore. And then comes the biggest scene in this episode, is when Zaheer flies. He has lost his earthly attachment. He's lost his tie to the earth in the form of Pali, and now he has found true freedom and can fly. Now, here's an interesting question. Is flight going to be for airbenders what lightning and lava bending and metal bending and blood bending is for the other benders? Because for a long time, airbending has seemed kind of less special, or I don't know, less versatile than the other forms of bending, because it's not had its, you know, like an elite specialization and stuff like that. I'd be happy with flight being that. Certainly none of the other bending styles can really accomplish what Zaheer was accomplishing. Some of them can kind of, you know, have like, you know, a compromised version of it. Earthbenders can use the earth to basically jump really, you know, long distances and what have you. And firebenders can use their fire as like jet propulsion, but it seems very limited compared to what Zaheer is demonstrating with his flight. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they do a similar thing with Zaheer's ability to fly as Ghazon did with lava, where the power gets passed on to one of our heroes. Speaking of which, let's talk about Mako and Bolin at the Northern Air Temple, trying to rescue the airbenders. So they're trying to escape. Ghazon has flooded the entire temple with lava. Something I haven't mentioned, because if I do mention this, I'm going to reveal how much of a nerd I actually am, is that I am slightly bothered by how the lava is portrayed in Legend of Korra. And for me, I mean, with Legend of Korra, I'm much more forgiving of it because it's an animated kids TV show and there are limitations just based on censorship and just also it's a fantasy universe and stuff like that. I'm more willing to. It's more like, you know, when you start questioning, you know, the properties of lava and what it can do, then you have to start questioning, well, why do people bend stuff with magic? It's like, it does feel really unreasonable, so I don't tend to do this. But there are loads of occasions in this episode with Bolin and all the others like being followed by this lava, and I'm like, you're already dead. Like, in any realistic situation with lava, these people would already be dead. You don't have to be touched by lava for it to kill you. Lava's really hot. Really hot. Like, really hot. If you're anywhere near it at all, you're gonna be cooking. You know? It's not, it doesn't work like it doesn't work by, oh, it touched you now. It's not boiling water, you know. It's significantly higher like no normal person, unless you're like a scientist or live in an unfortunate location on a volcano. No one's really encountered something quite as hot as lava in their day-to-day lives. So it is one of those things in film and TV that gets underplayed. Like, most things are exaggerated in film, like gunshots and stuff like that are always usually really over the top and exaggerated in film, but stuff like lava and what glass does to you when you jump through a window and stuff like that, it's always underplayed. I've dwelled on this far too long, but I just thought I'd get my thoughts out on the use of lava in this episode, because it's a big deal for Bolin that now he's a lava bender. It's cool. I kind of felt like they were going to go in this direction, because they were playing the oh, is Bolin going to be a metal bender or not card a little too often and a bit too heavy-handed. So for them to just subvert it and go, no, he's not going to be a metal bender, he's going to be a lava bender. That's a cool idea. Problem is, there are very limited applications for lava bending that isn't corpse disposal. To be quite frank, like I don't know. What's Bolin gonna do with lava bending? I mean, I suppose, I don't know. You could like set up. I mean, like it would make like. I don't know. I don't know. Let's move on. I'm trying to rationalize something that it shouldn't. Well, it should, but I don't have the brain power to. I need to talk to other people about this. I need to be on a podcast about Legend of Korra, and then we can hash this out. Yeah. What else happened in that episode? We got introduced to Govira, who just randomly. Like the captain of the Metal Clan bodyguards army, just suddenly, she appears. I mean, I assume she's been there for a while, but it just seems really odd, like, to have her save Korra's father and then they introduce her and then we don't talk to her ever again. Fine. Maybe she's important in book 4. Yeah, but that seemed really odd, that scene where you're like, Go Vera, am I meant to care? Like, I don't know who you are. But yeah. So anyway, we end that episode with Korra captured by the Red Lotus, and they're gonna kill her. But not only her, every avatar that could ever possibly exist. Because their plan is to poison her with this poison. They just refer to it as poison in the episode, but I think it's mercury. If it's a metallic poison, then it's probably mercury. So yeah, they put that in her system, and the idea being is that because she's been poisoned, her body just goes into the avatar state as like a self-defense mechanism, and then they're gonna kill her while she's in the avatar state, and then just end the avatar cycle permanently, which, that fits in with the Red Lotus's ultimate goal, is to remove leadership, although it slightly clashes with what Zaheer said earlier in this season when he was saying like they wanted to capture the avatar to teach her a new path, and that might have been the original plan, like way back when Korra was just an infant, their original plan might have been to let's not end the avatar cycle. Maybe the avatar can be an agent for our master plan and stuff like that. So that's possible. But ultimately their plan is just to remove the avatar from the equation entirely. During the mercury poisoning sequence, Korra starts to get flashes of old enemies telling her to just let go and give up and so forth and so on. It was a really effective scene in terms of conveying the struggle within Korra's mind to hold back her own body's urge to defend itself and so forth and so on. It was really well animated as well. Just the close-ups on Korra's face, you could see the distress in her eyes and all of that. And what follows is one of the best action sequences Avatar's ever seen. The fight between Zaheer and Korra that breaks out after she goes into the avatar state and breaks out of her chains is one of the most incredible sequences of animation I've seen in a long time. The choreography is astounding. The music is so epic. I'm just using hyperbolic words now. It's really well put together. Of course, it's very reminiscent of the Sozin's Comet fight between Ozai and Aang, just with you know, the location with the pillars of rock and the way the two fighters are using those pillars to their advantage. But interestingly, there's a bit of a role reversal here in that Korra feels very reminiscent of Ozai in this fight, whereas Zaheer feels more reminiscent of Aang. Of course, Korra has more powers than Ozai. She's the Avatar, she can do all sorts of things. But just her silhouette with her long flowing hair and the fact that she's using the rocket boot technique that Ozai used in the finale of the original series, it does feel like the creators are deliberately trying to make you form that connection in your head, like, is Korra the Ozai in this situation, and is Zaheer the Aang in this situation? Because Zaheer is, in some ways, I feel like what Aang would be if Aang didn't have like a really strict moral compass. Yeah, and just like, yeah, he's basically Aang without moral absolutes, which makes him fascinating. But let's move on. Before we move on, I want to talk about one sequence in particular. And not really talk about, just really kind of just show you guys at home again this incredible piece of animation. During the Zaheer Korra fight, there's 20 seconds of animation that I think is up there with the best animation I've ever seen. It's when Zaheer and Korra are flying through the air together and Korra's desperately trying to chase Zaheer, and the camera just sweeps around and does all this incredible things. And I know there's some After Effects in there, a lot of the clouds and stuff, but having looked at the scene quite a few times, a lot of it is just hand-drawn animation, and I think what they achieve is incredible. So I'm going to just show that 20 seconds in its entirety because I think it's amazing. Here we go. Okay, so while that fight is going on, of course, Mako and Bolin are dealing with Ghazon and Minghua, both of which meet their end at this point. Minghua gets electrocuted after Marco's put in a situation where it's either him or her, basically. If he doesn't take that action, she's going to impale him, basically. And then Ghazon chooses to destroy the cave, just completely destroy it and bury himself because he'd rather be dead than sent back to jail. Again, I've already mentioned this, it's a shame that we didn't get to know those characters better, but they were entertaining to watch, and yeah. But yeah, and yeah, their deaths are a bit disappointing in some ways, much the same as Pali, but yeah, I understand why they've made that choice, because really Zaheer's the character that we most identify with, most understand out of the four of them, and I don't know, maybe they're going to introduce a new antagonist next season who's going to be in league with Zaheer. So Zaheer actually survives. So after Jinora interferes and saves Korra again, like last season, except this time it's a little less Deus Ex Machina. Yeah, Zaheer gets imprisoned and he survives. He's not dead. Like, this is the first villain we've had in Korra that has continued. Like, he is not gone. And also the Red Lotus in general is not gone. I strongly believe that these guys are going to be the antagonists from this point forward. The Red Lotus are our villains now, and It'd be interesting to see if they're going to introduce more major members of the Red Lotus. I know Zaheer mentioned the founding father of the Red Lotus in an earlier episode. Zhai Bao, I believe his name was. Be interesting to see if he becomes like the major villain of the next season, and Zaheer's more a like second in command type deal. But yeah, it's great to have the season end with a continuing threat. And on that note, this season ends on a really downer note. The poison that Korra is infected with to make her go into the avatar state does get removed. It's a metallic poison because, yeah, I think it's mercury, but I don't know. But anyway, it's described as a metallic poison, and Sue is able to extract the poison because of that. But Korra doesn't just fully recover. The poison has had a permanent, maybe not permanent, but lasting effect on her health, and she's wheelchair bound at the end of this series and completely drained of her energy and her motivation. It's not just physically. This whole sequence of events has had a psychological effect on her, and I think it's because she's really starting to doubt what purpose the Avatar actually has in this modern world. That what Zaheer and all the other villains, all the other antagonists in her life have been saying is actually starting to sink in, and I think deep down she might actually start to agree with them that there may not be a purpose for the Avatar in this current landscape. And so the show ends with Janora's tattoo ceremony, which is really beautiful moment. And when it's revealed that Janora with her tattoos looks a lot like Aang, it was a really heartfelt moment, and the music by track team during that scene is really good. But the show ends with a close-up on Korra's face, and she's crying. And I think the reason why is because of the announcement Tenzin makes during the ceremony. Basically, he's decided that the Air Nation is going to rise to take the Avatar's place and act as peacekeepers in the world. And I think Korra's upset because, as well-intentioned as Tenzin's motivations are, he's kind of feeding into an insecurity that Korra has right now. And that insecurity is whether the Avatar really has a purpose anymore. And if the Air Nation can just simply, take her place, then why even return? Why even continue as the Avatar if that's a possibility? So the show ends on a really bittersweet note. Korra is, in a horrible situation. She's wheelchair bound. She's completely drained of energy. Psychologically, she's in a really bad place. And there's still that threat of the Red Lotus out there. There's lots of things that are unresolved. The Earth Kingdom is in ruins. There's so much going on. I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy that this season has had consequences, and these consequences are going to continue on to the next season. And we have a continuous threat, and there are problems that haven't been resolved. Great. Finally. It was the biggest problem with book one was that the consequences of the antagonist actions didn't really have any weight, and the whole thing was wrapped up with a nice, neat little bow. Season 2 kind of did something similar. I was kind of hoping there would be a continuous threat at the end of Season 2, but that wasn't the case. Now Book 3 has finally established a villain that I'm really happy with in the form of Zaheer and the Red Lotus. I think the anarchist group is a great concept for an antagonist for this kind of show. So I'm just going to sum up my thoughts on Season 3 overall now. I think it's the best season of Korra, and also arguably controversial here, it might actually be the best season of Avatar, full stop. Now, before people start attacking me, I think the original series in its entirety, as a fully formed thing, will never be topped, because it just nothing, because Korra, just the way Korra's been made, like, nothing will ever match the long form storytelling, the really distinct arcs that original series had. It can't be matched. Like, Zuko's arc is something that this show can't do, Korra can't do. That said, as a self-contained season of television, taken as an individual season, season 3 demonstrates a level of storytelling and tight writing that I don't think the show has ever done before. Just a real maturity in its approach to characterization, especially in the early episodes with Sue and Lin. A really compelling motivation for the antagonists. Zaheer is a fantastic antagonist, and I'm glad he's still alive, because I want to see more of him and I want to know more about him. The pacing, the choices in terms of, like, when we should concentrate on characterization and when we should have action-heavy episodes and so forth and so on. There wasn't a bad episode, really, in season 3. I mean, I was kind of iffy on the Airbender special halfway through the season, but for the most part, I loved this season, every single episode, which I'm so happy about, because season 2 was so inconsistent. Like, Beginnings Part 1 and 2, amazing, but Civil War Part 1 and 2, yeah, it was really Peacekeepers. Was Peacekeepers the one with the really terrible animation? I forget. But anyway, Korra Book 3, fantastic season of television. I'm really happy about this. I'm really happy that they found their feet again. Can't wait for season 4. Oh, quick edit, because there was some breaking news. Book 4 is coming out on October 3rd. Originally, at the end of this video, I talk about future plans, about what video content I'll do, because this kind of reviewing each episode as it goes seemed popular, so I was going to carry on doing that, and I mentioned some possibilities about what series I'd do. But Book 4's coming out soon, so I might as well just do more Korra videos as the episodes come out. Also, other video content, I've got some proper Animation Archives videos in the works that will come out soon, before the next season of Korra. Okay, thank you for watching, everyone. Bye-bye!